Hi, this is Brian with ActiveMelody.com. In this week's guitar lesson, we're going to take a look at a very simple approach to playing lead. This is stuff that no matter where you are as a guitar player, you should be able to follow along with this. A lot of B.B. King influence in some of these licks, but we're going to connect them back to some basic chord shapes that you already know, like the D chord. And I'm going to show you some shapes that you can visualize. There's a triangle shape, there's a square shape, and how you can take those shapes and connect those to the chords that you already know and start to play these leads. It's a very cool way to learn, especially if you're a visual learner. So I've got this lesson split into two parts. In this video, we'll take a look at the first half. If you'd like to watch the second half, download the tablature, get the MP3 jam tracks, which I have in multiple tempos. You can get all of those things by going to ActiveMelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP339. Alright, so in my opinion, the best music out there, and I don't care what style you're talking about, but it tends to be simple when you analyze it. That's the stuff that most people, the masses, gravitate towards because we can connect to it emotionally. There's a reason for that. Whether you're a guitar player or non-guitar player, doesn't matter. If you're listening to B.B. King, you can see what he's doing and you can connect to it. You know where he's going with that. And that's why that style of playing is so popular as compared to, let's say, a shredder. You know, not knocking the shredder community, but when I listen to shredders, I tend to get overwhelmed. It's too much. I don't know how to process it. I certainly can't play that way. And so that audience tends to be other shredders versus someone like B.B. King tends to, you know, the masses gravitate towards him. And hundreds of years after he's gone, there will still be record sales. So anyway, I just wanted to set it up with that. We're going to be learning sort of a B.B. King style lead in this week's lesson. It's very simple. So it doesn't matter where you are as a guitar player, you should be able to follow along with this and definitely understand how these notes are played and where they're coming from so that you'll be able to take this stuff and use it in your own playing. That's my goal for you. So let's start off with the first little thing that happens here. First of all, the song is played in 3/4 time. So it's 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3. That's how you count it. And it's played, there's two sections to it, but in this first section, there's only two chords. So it doesn't get more simple than that. We have a D chord and a G chord. But the cool thing is, we're not going to be worried about the chord changes. We're not going to be trying to match the notes and which note do I land on and what's the chord now, is it the D or the G? It doesn't matter. When you're playing this style, you're not thinking that way. You're thinking much more like a singer. You're trying to, even though the singers are landing on notes, they're not thinking about it in terms of scales necessarily. They're playing off, they're using more of an emotional thing, and that's what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to show you some tricks for doing that, and these will be things you can use going forward. Okay, so in the key of D, the first thing we're going to play, really slow and simple. So we're going to start by sliding up to the 4th fret 3rd string, and then we're going to play the 3rd fret 2nd string. Two notes. Now a lot of this bluesy, especially B.B. King style, if you're trying to emulate that, a lot of it is the vibrato, shaking the string like that. I don't have a quick answer for how to do that, but I did create a micro lesson on at least my style for vibrato. That was ML050. So you can go to the micro lessons section of the site, activemelody.com/micro, and you can look for ML050, and you can learn more about that. Anyway, we are going to put the jam track on, and we'll play along with that. But this is the first thing I want you to learn. Just those two notes. And then after that, we're going to play. We're going to come up to the 5th fret 2nd string, bend and release, back to the 3rd fret 2nd string, and then hit that 4th fret 3rd string again. Now what are these notes? Well, this is the major pentatonic scale, pattern 4, if we're getting technical about it. But I want you to connect this back to your D chord shape. Remember, this song is played in the key of D, and so this is a little trick going forward if you want to use this sort of B.B. King little area, if you want to think of it that way. The way I like to do it is I think about this D chord shape, and I look at where my ring finger is, that note in the chord. If I replace my ring finger with my index finger, now I have this triangle. And some of you those of you that watched my lesson last week, you're going to go, wait, he talked about the triangle last week, and I did. It's the same triangle, just bear with me here. But the triangle would be, in this case, for the key of D, it would be the 3rd fret 2nd string, the 5th fret 2nd string, and then the 4th fret 3rd string. And if you were to draw a line between those three, you'd see a little triangle there. So look at the D chord shape and the D major pentatonic triangle. Light bulb should have just went off for a lot of you, just connecting those two things, this chord shape to this triangle. And so just as a quick connection point to connect this week's lesson to last week's lesson, if I were to play the relative minor of D, it would be a B minor. And so look at that same triangle, right? See how those same notes sound very bluesy if I'm playing the B minor chord versus the D. It sounds much more happy. So anyway, I'll let you guys, you can discuss that on the comment section if you want, but that's what's going on there. So now that you've got these notes, let's play along with the jam track. I'll put on the slow version of the jam track, and we'll just play along with that just so you can get the timing and the feel for these first two licks. Alright, so that's our first two licks. And then we move on to the third lick, which is exactly the same as the first. And you'll see there's a lot of repetition in this style of playing. And I do that intentionally. I want you to think about a lick like that at its simplest form. You're not worrying about scales, chord changes. You're trying to play emotion, and you're trying to play with the vibrato. How long do you let it ring out? All of that stuff. Okay, so that's your first three licks. Then we move on into this. Now this is a really cool extension off of the triangle that we're going to learn. So our triangle looks like that. There's a square now that we can attach to the triangle. So we're just thinking in terms of, you know, first grade or kindergarten shapes here. We've got our triangle, and then if I look at where my ring finger is on that 5th fret 2nd string, if I slide that up 2 frets to the 7th fret 2nd string, I've got a box here, or a square, so you can think of it that way. So you've got the 7th fret 1st string, the 5th fret 1st string, 7th fret 2nd string, 5th fret 2nd string. Look at this box, and look at this triangle. Now those two are connected. So in your mind, you can connect all the way back to this chord shape. That's the key of the song we're playing in. Now I can go. And all of those notes are in the major pentatonic scale. And so you can remember that going forward. Now if we're going to play something in the key of E, for example, you just take that chord shape. This is going back to the caged system. That's why caged is so important. But if you were to look at that D chord shape, playing the E chord, look at this. Remember, you take where your ring finger is, you replace it with your index finger. Now I've got all those major pentatonic licks that we're learning for this, for every chord. All right, so let's get back. Let me show you this fourth lick here. We're going to play 5 and 3 on the 2nd string, and then we're going to slide it up to that square now. We're going to go up to the 7th fret 2nd string, 5th fret 1st string, a hammer onto the 7th fret 1st string. So you have, and then back down to your triangle. Now that is a huge, huge takeaway. Just that lick there. That's one of those licks that you hear in so many blues guys use, and it's fairly easy now to find it now that you know how to connect it back to a chord shape that you already know. Really powerful, major pentatonic sounding, but it's got a little bit of that blues thing going on too. It's just a really cool lick. All right, I'm going to play along with the jam track now, and we're going to play through the first 4 licks. All right, so now we're going to move into the 5th lick. And we're going to stay in the same neighborhood, which is where our triangle is, but we're going to go to the string right on top of that. So that'd be the 5th fret 1st string. And I'm going to do a bend. Actually, it's a bend and a half. So it's a full bend, but then add a little extra. So you're going to go. And that's what BB does. BB would bend beyond the note sometimes. And it just gives it more of a vocal quality. So that's what's going on there. If you can do that. I realize that if you're on an acoustic guitar, this is going to be next to impossible, depending on the gauge of strings you have. But that's what's going on there. 5th fret, 1st string, full bend. And then we're going to go to the 3rd fret, 1st string, and just hit it once. And then go back down to that 2nd string and do a bend and release, 5th fret, 2nd string, and a pull off. Now notice I just picked that once. So it's awesome, awesome lick. Don't let that lick just slip through your fingers. That's a big one that you can use in everything, and you hear that so commonly used. Really, really powerful lick. And then after that, I went. So we're going right back into the same territory. 5th fret, 2nd string, down to the 3rd fret, 2nd string, and then we're sliding back up into this box here, or the square. 5th fret to the 7th fret on the 2nd string, 5th fret, 1st string, and then I go back into the triangle, but this time I don't do a full bend. I do a half bend. Hear the difference? It's subtle, but instead of going very major sounding, right? Very happy. If I do a half bend here, I get a much more bluesy sound. And so that's another big takeaway to remember going forward. When you're playing this triangle shape off of in your major pentatonic scale, you have 2 options for bending this string. Happy or much more of a sad thing. So you have all this emotion just depending on how far you want to push that string. All right, let's back up, play along with a slow version of the jam track one more time just to get us up to where we are in the song. All right, so after that full bend, and that lick, I went right back into the same lick that we started with. And then there's one more lick, which is a bluesy lick that I ended with that goes. Now this is an awesome lick that you can connect back to this major chord shape. So what I'm doing there is 4th fret, 3rd string. It's a half bend. This is important. You don't want to do a full bend. It's going to totally sound wrong. Just do a half bend. Half bend means you're trying to hit the note that's 1 fret higher than where you start. Half bend, 4th fret, 3rd string without the bend, 2nd fret, 3rd string. And then we're going to reach up here and play the 5th fret, 4th string. So you have, and then watch this. So what's happening there is my index finger comes to the 3rd fret, 4th string, and I do a hammer on to the 4th fret, 4th string, and then index finger goes down on the 3rd fret, 2nd string. And you can let those 2 notes ring out at the same time. It sounds really nice. It's just a D chord. It's like a D harmonized 6. So you have. Now I want you to remember this as a nice little bluesy complement to all of the major pentatonic stuff that you've learned here off of this triangle shape. Just remember that at the bottom of the triangle, or no, I'm sorry, the top of the triangle, that note right there, that's where you could do that half bend. So now if you're playing that in A, for example, you're up here and you're going, there's all your BB stuff. You've got, so you can use that blues lick. Now I could get into the scales and stuff that's going on there for that blues lick, but I think I'm just going to leave that out and just kind of keep it as what it is. It's this nice little complement to your major pentatonic scale pattern 4. And it's just an easy way to get in and grab some bluesy notes, but then you're coming right back into your major thing. So I'm going to actually end the part 1 video there. We didn't cover a ton of notes, but we covered a lot of material. Just in terms of theory and what's going on, you know, with chords and how to play with emotion over some simple chords. So notice that at no point was I calling out the chord changes. Oh, now we're on a G chord. Oh, now we got to worry about landing on this note. None of that stuff happened. We weren't thinking that way. We were just thinking about these little shapes. And I encourage you to put on the jam track, and you could take what I've showed you and work that out, but work out your own little licks that you can play off of these notes. You could play an entire 10-minute solo off of just a few notes there. See what you can come up with. So let me play along with the jam track. I'll play along with the slow version of the jam track, just so we have this in one final take, and then I'll see you in part 2 where we go into a key change. That's where the song switches keys. We go into the key of G, and we get a whole other thing using a lot of the same concepts that we've used here. We're just going to do that just so that you can really put it all into practice. All right, so here, let's play along with the jam track.